How often do you read the news and wish there was more critical thinking in the world today? The best way to ensure we see more accuracy, thoughtful analysis, meaningful interpretation, and reasoning in our future media is through teaching those things to the next generation. And because the world is more complex than ever before, our challenge is to teach critical thinking in better, deeper, more creative, and more engaging ways. At Adobe, we know students can become better critical consumers of information and media when they learn how to create for themselves, whether a video, social media post, or even a news story. Here are just a few ways Adobe's creative tools can help deepen critical thinking in any curriculum. Students examine multiple viewpoints on the topic of a podcast or news story and present their findings in a Creative Cloud Express page. Students compare scientific research findings, evaluating and critiquing the scientific practices used in each study by building an interactive app using Adobe XD. Students make videos in Premiere Express, reflecting on their own learning via voiceover to make explicit their critical thinking, assumptions, and thought processes. Students transfer what they learn across multiple contexts, demonstrating that their conclusions are clear and persuasive, even when mediated in different formats. Let's dive deeper into a few of our Adobe and Khan Academy materials that facilitate critical thinking with creative extensions.
It is important that students apply critical thinking skills while learning and creating in the 21st century, because when students can critically examine a problem or a question, they can look at it from multiple perspectives. It will also help their ability to solve complex problems and use higher order thinking skills.
I truly believe it's more difficult for students to be critical thinkers today than it was 20 or 30 years ago, because we've had to up our critical thinking game. We now have to be able to think critically, not just about the information that's being presented to us, but even more so about where that information is coming from, what we know about the authors of that information, what different media types it's being presented in. That sort of burden is an opportunity for us to ensure that the next generation can think as critically about, for instance, multimedia sources, and news and information literacy coming from online news sources, print sources, the internet, and social media, the same ways in which the previous generation had to think critically about different kinds of print or broadcast news. That's just one example that can be extrapolated across many disciplines. Where are information about science and climate change and other sources coming from? And how can we ensure that students are thinking critically about those?
Critical thinking encompasses higher order thinking skills like synthesizing, analysis, evaluation. It's really important for everything from decision making to argumentation to problem solving. In a world where we have ever increasing amounts of information, students need to be able to pull that information apart, make judgments about it, and bring it together in new ways. So critical thinking is really important for almost all aspects of our lives. And in fact, research shows us that students with higher critical thinking skills have better career outcomes, financial outcomes, and even better interpersonal outcomes. So it's really important that we help students develop these skills throughout their school careers.
It's important that students apply critical thinking skills while learning and creating in the 21st century, because it helps students dig deep into what they're creating, why they're creating it, and how they're going to create it. Really reflective thinking on their part, and when they're designing, really going back and rethinking, is this the best approach? Really analyzing their thinking, and I think that's a crucial piece in the 21st century.
When students are curious about a topic, they can use critical thinking skills to research that topic, and it can take them way beyond what they learn in the classroom. Critical thinking is not just a tool for learning, it's a skill for life.
It enables students, enables anybody. I think I do the same thing. I think that it's something that should never stop in the journey of a human being. You should always want to think critically. And it's that ability for students to be able to have a look at what they've done, have an overall judgment, and make a decision. And in conjunction with analytical thinking, which will probably precede that, they would have to look and assess logically and see, okay, here is a sticking point, or this is a problem, and then use the critical thinking to make a judgment based on their analytical thinking and findings. And both of those are vital when it comes to doing work. Gone are the days of, oh, this is right and this is wrong.
We need innovation. We need to have students who can think for themselves, who are problem solvers, who are able to work outside of the box, to think beyond rote learning, to apply the things that they've learned across all disciplines.
Critical thinking is all about knowing your assumptions and then being able to validate them or disprove them. And this is super critical in the coming times because of the fact that the world is so intricately connected. This is a boon because now information can flow very easily. And this in itself becomes a bane for us because now even false information can flow very easily. We make so many decisions every day, from small decisions like what to buy to big ones like whom to marry. And it's a known fact that we have so many cognitive biases, and these biases creeps into all our decision making. So yeah, in summary, critical thinking is helpful for us at a large scale and also at an individual scale.